Hey guys, I'm Brianna. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my July wrap-up. I read a total of 28 books this month, which is super good. Most of my books I read in the beginning of the month, so if I don't remember them, I apologize. But if you guys are new to my channel, what I normally do for my wrap-ups is I say the book, what I rated it, and I kind of just go through what the book was about, if I really enjoyed it. If not, I'll give like a little synopsis. But yeah, my videos for monthly wrap-ups are pretty long. But I'm gonna show you my Kindle ones, but I'm too lazy to like pull up the covers, so like you'll just have to see them far away. So I read 6 Kindle books, and I'm actually currently reading a Kindle book right now. It's called Grinder. It's by Samantha Whiskey. It's book 1 in the Seattle Sharks series, and it's a hockey romance. They're NFL hockey players, but yeah, it's really good. So the first Kindle book I read was Reckless King by Maya Hughes, which is that one in the corner. I'm gonna lower the brightness so you guys can actually see. Can you guys see now? Yeah. So that's Reckless King. This is a high school to college sports romance with hockey. I thought it was pretty good. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5. I enjoy the series, but I'm not just a huge fan overall of it. Like, Maya Hughes' writing is really good, but I don't know, the plot just wasn't the best. It was very like insta-lovey, and I'm not a huge fan of that. The next book I read was the next book right there. That one. That's Drumline by Stacey Westwick. This one I gave a 4 out of 5. It's a college romance with the band. So if you don't know, a lot of bigger schools, pretty much all colleges have bands and orchestras, but a lot of bigger schools, they do marching band, and marching band is pretty much the band that is at all sports events, especially football. So if you know D1 football schools, the marching band, the halftime show, all that. So this book focused on that, and apparently the drum line, there's never been a female drummer in the history, so she's the first one to try out, and it's actually pretty good because you get to see some of like the hazing in there, so like what they do their own thing, you have to see their warm-up, but it's not just that, you get to see college life as well. And I thought Stacey Westwick did a great job just exploring the college life and kind of showing you the real in and outs of what goes on. So it was actually really good, and it was a different take, just because I've never really read a band romance, like I've never read that, so I just really enjoyed it, and I would definitely check it out if you guys like college romances. The next book I read was Untouchable by Sam Marino, which is right in the corner. This one, I've been hearing so many mixed reviews, and I never wanted to read it, but it just came up, like a lot of people started talking about it on BookTube, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read it, so I did. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5. Probably I'm gonna go back and rate it lower. I just did not like it. The only thing that I got through the book, and it's a chunker, like it's a 500-page book, maybe a little bit more, so it is a pretty decently sized book. I could have stopped reading at so many points. The only reason I read the whole thing is, 1, I wanted to know what happened, and 2, I did enjoy his writing. I really appreciated it. I just didn't like the concept of the whole book. So if you don't know, it is based in high school, and this girl basically accuses this guy on the football team, and I think it's in Texas. She accuses the guy on the football team of basically sexual harassment, which did happen, and he gets kicked off the team, and it's a whole big thing, but everyone shuns her, everyone hates her after that. So then one of the captains of the teams, I think quarterback, whatever, they come back and basically harass her. But basically this whole book is pretty much sexual assault in a form, because the whole premise is, I'm gonna spoil it a little bit, but the whole premise is she ends up falling in love with the main guy, but the main guy originally sexually assaults her and kind of like manipulates her into a whole bunch of things, but she ends up loving him, and it kind of like, it annoys me because this wouldn't happen in real life. Like, it just wouldn't. It's not realistic at all, and it just promotes so many negative things. I wrote a whole rant on my review, so if you would like to read it, it's linked down below in my Goodreads. But I just, like, I'm not hating on the author, I'm just hating on the book. Like, I just did not like the book. I didn't condone anything that happened in the book, and it just made me like it made me upset. I was just like, wow, like, it was a lot more than I expected. If you guys don't know, for example, Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan, I reviewed it back on my channel a while ago, but that book has sexual assault in it, but she's a survivor of sexual assault. She's trying to get out of the relationship. There's a whole big thing. Whereas this one, she kind of, it's just manipulated into a relationship, and I just didn't appreciate the story. That's my mini rant. If you want to read the full rant, it's in my Goodreads. The next book I read was Where You Can Find Me by Fiona Cole. It's right there. This one I gave a 3 out of 5. I don't really have anything too much to say about it. It's an adult romance. It was pretty steamy, like it was on the steamier side. It was just an average read for me. I'm not sure if there's gonna be a continuation. If there is, I will probably read it, but it was just a normal romance book. And the next book, so this book is probably tied for my favorite book of the year so far. I'll talk about both of my favorite books in this video, and I do a favorites every year, so in December, get ready to hear them. And this one is called The Locker Room by Megan Quinn. It's this book right here, the bright blue book. I freaking love this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5. So good, like just so good. I was just like dying when I read the whole book. It made me laugh, it made me cry. It just had everything in there, and I was like, yes. Unfortunately, it's a standalone, so I'm just gonna have to reread it a ton. It did remind me of The Rivalry by Nikki Sloan, if you guys have read that. That one is a football romance. This is a baseball college romance, and it was just so good. So we start off, this girl transfers colleges from California to Iowa, I think. And she transfers, and her friends go to school here, so she goes there. And basically the whole premise is she just got out of a relationship where she was cheated on. She goes to a new school, and then she meets this guy, and he's on the baseball team. But he is honestly so freaking sweet. If you guys watch The Bachelorette, he is Tyler. He is freaking Tyler C. Like, I was reading this whole book, and I was like, oh my god. So I was just dying. Like, he literally just, I loved his character. Because in some romance novels, you have, like, just really unrealistic people. You just have, like, alpha males or just the super nerdy guy, something like that, the guy next door. This guy, honestly, was just, like, the best hero I've ever read about. Like, he was just so genuine, and he just embodied so many ideals that I feel like everyone looks for in a relationship. So I just really appreciated that. I love the baseball element thrown on top of it. It was kind of just like a sprinkle on top of the cake, and then that made no sense. I meant cherry on top. And then you have the woman who is the main heroine. I think she was just really refreshing as a character because she did not want a relationship. She didn't really want anything at first, and she kind of just separated herself from stuff, but she experienced college. She was very dedicated on school, and it was just everything I wanted in a book was in that book. I was just so good. Maybe I'll do a review on it. I'm not sure yet, but just so good. Please go read it. And my one complaint was there was a huge time skip. I don't like time skips in books. I'm not a huge fan of them, but it did play really well in this one, and I thought it was really good, and it showed like the maturity of the characters, so I do give props to the author. But Megan Quinn, please write more sports romance, because this is literally perfect, and I loved it. But yeah, go over check it out. It's called The Locker Room, guys. The next Kindle book I read was Axel, which is this one in the middle. This is a Carolina Reapers novel. It's book number 1. It is by Samantha Whiskey. I gave this a 3.5. I did enjoy it, but it was on the shorter side for me. It's a hockey romance. I love that aspect of it. It was just a nice kind of light-ish read. There were heavy tones in it, but like it was more of like a rom-com funny type of read. It made me actually want to go back and read the whole Seattle Shark series, which I think is like 9 or 10 books, so that's gonna take me a while. But I really did like that book, and I enjoyed Samantha's writing. So now onto my physical books. Sorry for my rant, but it had to be said. So the first 3 is a trilogy, and that is the Washington Wolf series. You have The Bombshell Effect, The X Effect, and The Marriage Effect. The Marriage Effect, I actually have a review up, which is probably going to be one of my previous videos. The Bombshell Effect is a 4.5, the X Effect is a 3.5, and The Marriage Effect is a 5 out of 5. I really, really enjoy these books. I love Carla Sorensen's writing. Her writing is just really refreshing and just really realistic, and I just really appreciated them. I'm excited for her new series to come out. I think it's coming out in the fall, if not August, but I will definitely be reading it, and it's about Logan's sisters, which is the guy from the last book, so it's going to be pretty interesting to read about. But yeah, these are football romances, if you didn't. Then I read Parental Guidance by Avery Flynn. This is book 1 in the new series. This one I gave a 4 out of 5. What I didn't really like is I felt like a lot of the guys mentioned in here, a lot of his teammates, the author wrote like we knew them already, which I didn't like because this is the first of the series, so we didn't know them. I wish there was more background and kind of a setting to the first of the series, but I did enjoy how she kind of made real world elements in this. It was like online dating, and then you had sports, and then you had what the characters felt, and I just felt like it was more of a modern day romance. Then I read The Last First Game by Gina Azzi. This one is they're like revamped covers and like names of the titles, so I don't know what they're originally under, but this is a 4-book series. This one was a sports college romance. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I think it was pretty average for me. It wasn't really anything spectacular. I did like it was football in here, but there were just some things that happened with him that I was like, not really realistic, and I was like, okay, wouldn't really happen, but cool. I enjoyed their relationship, and I enjoyed this novel. I'm not positive if I'll continue the series. I have to see how I feel, but it was just like a nice summer read to me. The next book I have is Make Me Bad by R.S. Gray. This is another rom-com of hers. This one I also gave a 3 out of 5. This is definitely my least favorite book by her. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It kind of really did nothing for me, and I didn't really connect with either character, but this follows a girl who is just very innocent. She still lives with her dad and older brother. She hasn't really experienced anything. She hasn't gone to parties. She hasn't like had a boyfriend, like any of this, or she had a boyfriend but it ended, and she's just very like shy, quiet, whatever. She's a librarian. Ben is he's not a cop, but he's on the richer side, and I think he owns his own company with his friend, so they're kind of like from different worlds but the same town. It was okay. Like, I definitely don't think I would read it again, but it was a rom-com, so it was funny. Then I read Royally Matched and Royally Screwed by Emma Chase. These are books 2 and 3 of the Royally Yours series. They were really good. I gave Matched a 3 and Endowed a 4. I really enjoyed this one because this is kind of like The Bachelor. It's pretty much what the show is this book. So if you guys do enjoy The Bachelor, this will probably be a great read for you. And then this one actually was really good. This was with the security guard and the sister of the girl in this, or the girl in the first book. Yeah. But they were like really, really good reads. Definitely, I was in like a royals mood. I don't know why, I just was. So I read these and they were like really good, and yeah, just average reads. Then I decided to read Making Faces by Amy Harmon. This is the independently published cover, so you can't really find this anywhere anymore now. If you guys know this title, it's a girl's face who's a redhead, and it's just her eyes, if you have seen it before. So if you're confused, that's why. This one I gave a 4 out of 5. I really did enjoy it. It was very interesting. So this has a lot of flashbacks and flash forwards in this. It's a little weird. So it's about this girl named Fern, and Fern is very just shy, and she's not a huge fan of her looks. She doesn't think she's pretty. And then there's this guy, why can't I think of his name? Ambrose Young. There's this guy named Ambrose who's beautiful. He wrestles in high school. Apparently wrestling was a huge thing, which I appreciated. If you guys didn't know, I did wrestle in high school. So a lot of this book had so many wrestling terms, and you saw meets, and I was like, wow, like, brings me back. But he was just everything. So at the end, they were a part of a small town. This happens around 9/11. So he decides he wants to go into the army. He wants to enlist. So he asks his friends if they want to go with him. They go with him, whatever. And then all of them die except him. But he is severely disfigured. So it's all about him trying to come into terms with himself and how his outside doesn't match his inside anymore. Whereas Fern grows up to be this beautiful woman. So she's trying to, like, come into terms that she's beautiful on the outside as well as the inside. It's like a whole big thing. I did enjoy it. Like, it was a very different type of read. Very, very emotional and just thought-provoking. It wasn't really my type of read, but, like, it was good. I do recommend it if you guys are looking for something more on the emotional side and kind of just, like, thinking about things. This is a good book to read. Then we got into my rereads. So I read the Dark Elements series again. So the first book is White Hot Kiss. The second book is Stone Cold Touch. The third book is Every Last Breath. I have the old covers. She just released new covers. I will never get rid of these. I literally love these covers so much. But if you don't know, oh, these are by Jennifer Armentrout. I don't know if I said that. But if you don't know, these are YA fantasies. I think they're more new adult, but it's fine. It's what it's categorized under. And these take place in Washington, D.C. And it's all about this girl named Layla who is half gargoyle, so that's a warden, and half demon. So she has demonic abilities as well as gargoyle abilities, and it's all about her trying to cope and her story. And this has Roth and Zane and everything in it. And this is basically a trilogy, and I love it so much. Like, this will forever be one of my favorite trilogies ever written. Just so good. It reminds me of my young adult days, but just a really good, interesting book series. Then I read Stormin Theory, which is book 1 of her new series, which is the spin-off of the Dark Elements series. This whole series follows Zane. And honestly, this is probably tied with The Locker Room for my favorite book of 2019. This, from reading, so what I did is I reread the whole Dark Elements series right before I jumped into this because I wanted to be, like, as fresh as possible. And holy moly, like, her writing, you can totally tell, like, her writing was so different. Like, she grew so much as an author. There was just so much storyline and plot in this book. Not only was it a first great opener of a series, but it just was so good, like, in everything. Character development, plot development, just so freaking phenomenal. I do have a book review of this coming out, so I'm not sure if I'm posting it before or after this, but definitely check it out because this book is just so good. The next book I read was The Fallen Genesis by Tilly Cole. This is a deadly virtues novel. This is the prequel, so you have to read this before you start the series. You can get it on Kindle. I just like having hard books. But really, really good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Oh, and I gave a 5 out of 5 to the whole book series, if you guys were wondering. But this one I gave a 4. It was a great setup. It was very different from her other dark romance series, so I was just interested to read this series and to continue reading this book. But this is, honestly, I feel like the Hades Hangman is a little bit darker than this, but she keeps saying this is darker. This is, like, straight up murder, so I guess that's why she considers it darker. It is interesting. I definitely recommend Tilly Cole to anyone that loves dark romance. Then I read Raphael by Tilly Cole. This is book 1 of her new series. Really, really good. I also have a review coming out for this. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. So if you guys are wondering my thoughts, go check my review that's either before or after this video. Then I read A Place in the Sun by R.S. Gray. I gave this a 4 to 5. I really enjoyed this. This is another rom-com. This is more about this woman's mother is trying to matchmake her, and she doesn't want that to happen. So she kind of starts traveling the country, and she lands in a small town in Italy, and she falls in love there. And I think this was actually really, really good. It talks more about serious issues, and not that serious, but like marriage and widows and all that stuff. So I really, really enjoyed this book. R.S. Gray also never fails to make put a smile on my face, so that's why I also like her books. Then I read Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I gave this one also a 4 out of 5. This is actually interesting. It took me about close to 200 pages to actually get into this book. It was kind of hard. I don't think she's really good at like intros and kind of just like enrapturing you in the world, so it took me a little bit to get in, but I really enjoyed the concept. I like what she did with the book, and I like her standalone books. I will continue to read her, but if you don't know, this one follows a girl who is an orphan who grows up in a library, and there's magic involved, sorcery, grimoires, all that. So if you kind of like the Harry Potter-esque feel, you will like this book. Then I reread Colty by Mariana Zapata. 5 out of 5. Love this book. You guys know how much I love this book. Just such a good book. This is a soccer slow burn romance. It's just so good. I've talked about this so much, like, just really good. This is definitely my favorite Mariana Zapata book I've ever read. And lastly, I read Irresistible You, So Over You, and Undone by You by Kate Meador. These are all hockey novels, and these are really good. I gave all of them a 4 out of 5. So the first book follows the owner of the team. She's not the sole owner, so her father passes away, and he writes in his will that the 3 daughters he had from 3 different women were going to be co-owners of the team. So it's her book, and she falls in love with the center who was just traded to their team. And then we have So Over You, which I actually really liked because it's about the daughter that was silver medal winning, and she played in the NCAA. She played hockey, which I thought was really interesting, and she has a past with the guy she falls in love with already, so I thought it was really good. And then Undone by You is actually a male-male romance, so that was really like interesting to read. So I just really enjoyed them. I really love hockey romances and just sports romances in general. I will definitely be reading Hooked on You, which is the 4th book, and she just released a new book, a spin-off series to this, which I will also be reading. I really loved her writing, and I just enjoyed this world that she created. And the last book I read, which I forgot to mention, I don't have a physical copy with me, but it's Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I gave it a 4 out of 5. That's also a male-male romance. It follows a female president of the United States. Her son ends up dating the queen's son. So he's a prince in England. It was interesting. It kind of gave me a new perspective, and it was pretty interesting to see like politics in a book, and I think she did it really well. Like, she accomplished it really well. There were some things I wasn't a huge fan of. Like, some of the plot didn't connect, and I felt like it was kind of rushed in some aspects, or it was kind of too drawn out. But I did really enjoy it, and I kind of read it because everyone was reading it, so I wanted to jump on the bandwagon. But yeah, I'm sorry this video is super long. I just had a lot to talk about. If you guys want more detailed reviews, my Goodreads is linked down below, and it has all the reviews of the books I've read. And yeah, that's it for my July wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!